Ray Bear, he has no hair.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Cold War.
Whatever it is. They all blend.
What day is it?
Yeah. They all blend in together. Yeah.
Episode 290. Ray, how's your week been, buddy?
It's been raining here a lot, so we've had some flooding, incredible temperatures, some leaks, having trouble with the pool. So, but these are things here to challenge us, to make us grow, to force us out of our comfort zone, to become stronger and better people. So thank you, whatever higher power is doing this for me, because I'm loving it, Jerry.
The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences.
I prefer the pool not to leak. Anyway.
We'll stop doing that. I'm rewriting the Xin Ming at the moment. I found the original, for those people who don't know, the Xin Ming, written by the 6th or 7th patriarch of Zen Buddhism, Sengshan, in about 650 CE, something like that, 700 CE. Right. I found the original Chinese text, gave it to ChatGPT, and now it's giving me the line-by-line literal translation of the Chinese.
Right.
And I'm coming up with my own version of the Xin Ming written in my own words, which I've done before, but I would take the English translations that I've never really liked and would rework them to say what I think that it's trying to say. So now I'm taking the original Chinese and working with that. So that's
more pure. Yeah.
That's what I do in my spare time.
That's
translating ancient Chinese scriptures.
You're so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one word for it. Here we are back in Cuba, Ray.
Yes, we are.
In the thick of it, with the story of how a man by the name of Fidel Castro came to power in Cuba. The last episode, we talked about his time in Colombia, the sack of Bogota, the Bogotazo.
Mm-hmm.
He was there for an uprising that got crushed, and the outspoken political leader, Gaitan, was murdered as part of that. And it sort of strengthened Castro's conviction that real change in Latin America could not be achieved through the ballot box. But it didn't stop him from trying to do it through the ballot box in Cuba, as we will see.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting because he's still a young man, and he is still
very young.
I think it's safe to use the word obsessed, or whatever the appropriate word is, with political thought and theories. And he loves sitting around the headquarters of their party organization house and just talking for hours and hours and hours. But at the same time, like you said, he's starting to say, you know what? All this yak isn't getting anything done. The people are still suffering. We need action. And I'll do the elections because that's one thing that might bring about change. But just in case it doesn't, he starts thinking about a plan B, revolution. So again, he's coming into his own. He's going to fall in love, but he's reading these heavy tomes. And at the same time, as inspired as he is, at the end of the day, a man either acts or he doesn't act, and words on a page can only take you so far. It's time to maybe take to the streets, but he's getting there. He's getting there. But I just wanted to ask you real quick, is it true to think that, because it seems to me, Castro has yet to meet an uprising that he didn't like? I mean, he loved to be in the thick of the things. He's been beaten up a couple of times. He's going to get beat up a couple more. I mean, we just talk because we're podcasters, but the idea of him being able to jump into the fray willingly, getting his ass handed to him a couple of times. I mean, for those who might not think that he's sincere in his beliefs, he certainly is willing to put his ass on the line for these very beliefs and helping other people.
Yeah, I think as we'll see, he's at a very young age dedicating himself to making Cuba a better place. Like, he's 22 at this stage. He's born in 1926. After he gets back to Havana from Colombia, it's April 1948. So he's 21, about to turn 22. A few months away from turning 22, already in the thick of it, in the thick of revolution. By the time he gets back to Havana, the media in both Colombia and Cuba had mentioned the involvement of two Cuban communists
Right.
in the Bogota riots. Now,
Right.
at this point in time, Castro wasn't a communist. There were communist organizations. There was a communist party in Cuba. There were communist student bodies and action groups, as they're called, like paramilitary groups.
Hmm.
He was not really involved in any of those. In fact, he was part of the group that was fighting against the communists, even though he had some friends that were communists.
Right.
And the real Cuban communists had stayed out of the whole conflict in Colombia. But then, as now,
Yeah.
anything's going on, you just blame it on the communists. Oh, it was the
Oh,
communists,
yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
talking very early Cold War, right? 1948.
Yeah.
World
Yeah.
War II has only been over for a couple of years. Churchill's just given his "an iron wall has descended" speech.
Across the
The
line.
Cold War is they're still sort of feeling out the Soviet Union and the dividing of Germany. They're still trying to figure out the play.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union doesn't have the bomb yet, but already, if any trouble is being caused anywhere, you immediately just blame it on the communists.
Well, I think of it as Cuba is close enough and is aligned with the American political experience. You can call them a USA light. That communism is the bogeyman. Like you said, anything bad, you just blame it on them, or you just assume, or whatever. But it sticks. And the Communist Party, like you said, stayed away from this, and they're staying away from other things, and they're trying to be peaceful, and they're trying to bring about change peacefully. And it doesn't matter because they're getting a bad rep with everything that's going on, and there's a lot of violence, and there's going to be a lot more violence. So they can't win for losing. But again, like you said, he's not really tainted with him. But just like the Communist Party is getting these bad things assumed of them, this kind of the same is going to be happening to Castro just because of the friendship. So again, but I'd love this next episode we're about to do because he's in the middle of a transformation. He's reading these books and he's thinking, you know what, it's time to do something. So we're about to see this very brave young man enter a larger stage, and he's eager for it. He's not afraid. He's to go. And I just think it's kind of cool. As you probably know, I didn't know anything about Castro before you came along, and I've been like, nah, Castro, whatever. You know, one of the many. No, this guy. I know there's a lot to admire about him, and we're going to see how sincere he is.
So the general secretary of the student union at the University Havana at the time, Alfredo Guevara, no
Hmm.
relation to Che, he was the best known communist militant on campus,
Right.
was on good terms with Fidel. After all of this news broke and Fidel came back and people were saying, hey, other communists were saying, hey, this guy's giving us a bad rap and he's not even a member of our group. Alfredo was like, Fidel,
Yeah.
he likes to cause trouble. He's out there in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Castro's political hero Eddie Shabazz, the leader of the Orthodox Party, was still alive and was a candidate in the upcoming presidential elections to be held on the 1st of June
Yes.
1948.
Here we go.
Castro campaigned for Chibas, went on tour with him, sometimes acted as the warm-up speaker for him. But the government's candidate for the presidency, the former Labor Minister Carlos Priot,
Hmm.
won the election by a comfortable margin.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just saw Chibas as someone who was just too unpredictable. And I don't know about Australia, but in America, we take our elections very seriously. The last thing we would ever do is elect someone who is spontaneous, who is unpredictable, who goes against the norm. We just find that kind of thing unsettling, and
Never.
therefore
Would never happen.
we don't vote for
Yeah.
people like that. No, but I think Priyo was
No.
seen as the safer bet. Go ahead, sorry.
Stable geniuses.
Stable.
Very stable geniuses.
Right.
That's what you like to vote for.
A room full
Over
of
there.
adults is what we seek
Mm,
in our political
Mm.
elections. I'm done now.
mm, mm. During the political campaign, Castro started accusing police officers of corruption, and this led many police to see him as a dangerous enemy. He starts to build a reputation outside of university circles now as a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And they start looking for opportunities to retaliate against Castro. A week after the presidential election, a police sergeant in Havana was shot dead. And according to police, before he died, he identified Castro as the guy who pulled the trigger.
Yes.
Another student was produced who claimed to be a witness, also identifying Castro as the gunman. Castro was arrested and claimed that the allegations were fabricated to discredit him. Fortunately for him, the witness changed his story before the trial began. He said he'd been bribed by police
Right.
to accuse Castro, and the judge dismissed the case. But here we are, already in 1948, Castro's got a target
Yes.
on his back
Yes.
by the police and the government. He's already seen, he's 22 years old, he's already seen as being a firebrand, a troublemaker, and somebody they need to keep a close eye on, if not take care of.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but the police handbook in Havana has only got 2 pages. Page 1 is you try to, set the guy up for the fall. And if that doesn't work, page 2, you shoot him. So hopefully Castro knows now that, when the cops are gunning for you, they don't have a lot of patience. There's not a lot of sophistication. They tried this. He better watch his ass from now on out.
Over the summer of 1948, Havana was relatively peaceful, but when the students returned to university in September, trouble flared up again. The government had used the quiet season to raise bus fares on the National Bus Company, which had a significant impact on the working classes and the students who relied on bus transport. And it led to violent protests organised by students and trade unions. They set several buses on fire, and Castro was smack bang in the middle of all of this. And the story behind this is pretty interesting. How much research did you put into the whole bus fare incident?
I think the word research is a little strong.
You've never heard that word before?
I've
what
read
is that word?
I've read of it, but
Is that
but
Latin? Is it
I
some
think it
sort
is.
of
I think
dead
it is.
language?
I
that
think
I've-
most people, again, you keep using these older words that none of us use, and you don't look cool. So, but if you want to tell the story, go ahead.
Pretty interesting story. So Havana had an old trolley system, trolleys,
Right.
as the public transport system. And they were long in the tooth, hadn't been upgraded in a long time. Infrastructure was a little bit crappy.
Sure.
So Cuba's new president, Prio, decided to throw them all out and upgrade them with a spanking new bus network.
Awesome.
Now, when I say he decided that, I think it's likely that there was a fair amount of pressure applied to him to do this. So, of course, as you said earlier on, Cuba at this stage is still pretty much an American colony.
Yeah.
American businessmen are looking for opportunities to make money out of Cuba if they have businesses on the mainland and they're looking for new markets. They're going to Cuba and going, oi, why don't you upgrade this or spend that or do this? And this whole bus thing revolves around an American businessman named William Pawley, Pawley.
Right.
Now, Pawley's an interesting character. He was involved in setting up the Flying Tigers group
Oh,
in
wow.
World War II that we've talked about. The AVG, the American Volunteer Group of fighter pilots that were assisting the Chinese against the Japanese
The
in World War
nationalists.
II.
Yeah.
He wasn't a pilot, though. He and his brothers assembled the planes
They're the middleman.
that the Flying Tigers
Right,
used.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Paulie's father had been a wealthy businessman in Cuba. And when Paulie was young, he attended private schools in Havana. Then he returned to the US, studied at the Gordon Military Academy in Georgia.
Right.
In the late 1920s, he returned to Cuba, became president of the National Cuban Airlines,
Wow.
which he then sold to Pan American Airlines in 1932. Then in 1933, he moved to China, where he became president of the China National Aviation Corporation,
Right.
which he then sold out to Pan American Airlines
Oh.
a few years later.
Huh.
Then he assembled aircraft for the Chinese nationalist government. Then he set up the Hindustan African Limited Company in India in 1940.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1941 got involved in building planes for the Flying Tigers. He was
Wow.
appointed by Truman as US ambassador to Peru in 1945, then the US ambassador to Brazil in 1948. And during this time, he became an FBI informant and was ratting out
Right.
anyone that he thought was in league with the communists.
Or he didn't
He was
like.
an active member of the
Yeah.
Republican Party, very close friend of Dwight Eisenhower and CIA Director Allen Dulles.
Mm-hmm.
Was later involved in the CIA operation to overthrow the Guatemalan government of Arbenz in 1954 when Arbenz threatened to reform the United Fruit Company.
Right.
So getting back to Cuba, Paulie at the time was the boss of Miami's bus system, and Prio decided that he was going to rip up Havana's trolley system and
Right.
replace it with buses to be supplied by William Paulie. And Prio guaranteed Paulie a minimum 8-cent fare for 25 years. Now, he was basically privatizing the public transport system.
Right.
And the fares had traditionally been 6 cents. So 8 cents was a 30%, 33% increase in bus fares. And that 2 cents was a big deal for working class people and students in Havana. It was basically lunch money.
Right.
They couldn't afford to pay that extra 2 cents. So hence the riots.
Right. Yeah, because that's how everybody
So
gets around. So yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Castro and his friend Justo Fuentes had a regular 15-minute slot on a radio station, and they used their broadcast to create discontent over the bus fares. The government was scared off. They were fearing riots on the scale of the Bogotazo, and they backed off and cancelled the fare increase briefly. They tried again a few months later.
So the people won.
So
yeah.
the
This is
people
awesome.
won temporarily. Yeah. Because,
That's
in
a
part,
win.
Castro made a big deal out of it.
Yeah. I can't help but notice that two guys, and I don't know, but two guys getting together, once or twice a week and getting on microphones and talking and agitating people. Don't they have anything better to do? Or is that is that as good as it gets for these guys? That's kind of sad. Really.
What are
if
they
you think
wasting their lives just talking about shit? No one cares
you would
about
think, right.
history. Who cares?
But in this instance, it paid off. Like you said, the government, well, okay, we don't, all right, we're backing down. So again, but this goes back to what we were saying earlier about Castro going, yeah, words are nice, theories are nice, cool discussions, words, rhetoric. Action is what we need. And here was action taken, and it worked out for the people for now.